I want to begin tonight with a principle so simple, so quiet, so utterly stripped of mystery, that when I say it aloud, you may feel a faint disappointment, as though you were expecting something more elaborate, more difficult to earn. I am asking you to resist that disappointment, because this principle, once you have truly seen it, will explain every result your life has ever produced. Not some of them, all of them. Every relationship that found you, and every one that did not. Every door that swung open, and every one that remained closed. Every sum of money that arrived, and every one that passed you by. The whole of your outer experience, without a single exception, has been obeying this principle from the first hour of your life to this present moment. The principle is this: the thing you want is on the same frequency as you, or it is not. And whatever frequency you are currently on is what is currently arriving. There is no in-between. There is no partial credit. There is no middle station where you are almost tuned in and therefore receiving a faint signal of the thing you want. You are either on the frequency or you are on a different one entirely. And the broadcast you are receiving, your relationships, your finances, your opportunities, your health, the daily texture of your life, is the precise and faithful output of wherever your dial is presently set. Tonight I am going to give you an image, a single, clean, permanent image. Once you have it, you will never again be confused about why results come, why they do not come, or what is actually required of you to change what you are receiving. The image is everything. The teaching lives inside it. Picture an old radio, the kind with a physical dial, the kind you turn by hand. You turn it one direction, and music fills the room. You turn it another, and you hear the news. Turn it again, a sports broadcast. Again, a voice speaking in a language you do not recognize. Turn it once more, and there is nothing but static. Now ask yourself a question that most people never think to ask. Did the radio create those broadcasts? No, of course not. The radio created nothing. Every one of those signals was already present in the room before you touched the dial. They were traveling through the walls of the building, through the air around your body, through the space between your fingers and the knob, this very second. Music, news, sport, prayer, argument, silence. Hundreds of stations broadcasting simultaneously, fully and freely, passing through everything. The radio did not produce them. The radio did not summon them. The radio did not earn them through effort or deserve them through virtue. The radio received them, one at a time, whichever one its dial was set to. And now I want you to feel something. Not merely understand it, but feel it in the body. Because what I am about to say is the most important thing I will say tonight. Your life works in exactly this way. The thing you want is not far away. It is not in the future. It is not behind a wall of effort you have not yet scaled. It is not reserved for people with more discipline, more talent, more faith, or more spiritual purity than you. The thing you want is broadcasting, right now, in this room, passing through you at this moment, the way a radio signal passes through walls, through furniture, through flesh. It is fully present. It is completely available. It is broadcasting at full strength. The only question is whether your dial is tuned to receive it. You are the radio. Your inner state is the dial. Your life is whatever broadcast you are currently picking up. Hold that image. We are going to build everything from it. Most people, when they want something and do not have it, treat the problem as one of distance. They imagine the desired thing somewhere out ahead of them, and they attempt to close the gap. They push harder, want more intensely, visualize more vividly, work longer hours. They turn up the volume. But you cannot hear a different station by turning up the volume. The signal does not change. The same broadcast plays, only louder. This is the hidden tragedy behind so much earnest striving. The person has not failed because they lacked effort. They failed because they exerted enormous effort on the wrong frequency. They have been cranking the volume dial while leaving the tuning dial untouched. And so the station they were already on, the station broadcasting lack, or struggle, or unworthiness, or isolation, plays louder and louder, more present and more confirmed, while they exhaust themselves wondering why nothing changes. The wanting itself becomes the evidence of not having. Every act of striving announces, at the level of inner state, that the thing has not yet arrived. And the law, which is nothing more than the law of reception, faithfully broadcasts back exactly that, not yet arrived. Neville said it plainly, "You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are." The radio does not attract the music by wanting the music. The radio receives the music by being tuned to it. Wanting and being tuned are not the same. Wanting lives on the frequency of absence. Being tuned is the frequency of the thing itself. This is why the correction the teaching offers is so startling when you first encounter it. It is not a problem of distance. It was never a problem of distance. It is a problem of tuning. You do not need to travel toward the thing. You need to become, inwardly, habitually, in the quiet resting posture of your daily consciousness, the frequency on which the thing is already broadcasting. The moment you are on that frequency, the thing arrives. Not because the universe relented, not because you finally earned it, not because conditions aligned favorably, but because the receiver is now tuned to the signal that has been broadcasting without interruption the entire time. Now I must be precise, because vagueness at this point is what causes the teaching to remain beautiful theory rather than living experience. A frequency is not a thought. You can think any thought you like and remain on the same frequency you have occupied for decades. Thoughts pass through consciousness like clouds through sky. They are real, they have texture, but they do not constitute the weather. A frequency is not an affirmation. You can repeat an affirmation 1,000 times a day while your dial stays exactly where it has always been, because the affirmation is a surface act and the frequency is a deeper one. A frequency is not even a feeling, in the dramatic sense, not the emotional surge you manufacture during a visualization exercise, which rises and falls and leaves you where it found you. Your frequency is something steadier, subtler, and far more consequential than any of these. It is the settled inner posture you occupy when you are not performing, the resting note of your consciousness, the default climate of your inner world, not the weather you create during a deliberate session, but the weather that is simply there when you are going about your ordinary life, making tea, waiting for a train, lying in the dark before sleep. It is the answer to this question. What do I assume about reality when I am not trying to assume anything? For most people, the resting note is some variation of not enough money, not enough time, not enough love, not enough recognition, not enough certainty about the future. They do not think this explicitly. They do not write it in their journals or say it aloud. It is simply the background hum, the air they breathe inwardly, so constant and so familiar that they have stopped noticing it entirely. And the law, faithful and mechanical and utterly without prejudice, broadcasts back to them from that same note. The opportunities that come are not enough opportunities. The money that arrives is not enough money. The love that finds them carries, underneath its surface warmth, the subtle signature of not enough, something conditional, something that might not last, something that confirms rather than contradicts the resting note. This is not cruelty. This is not punishment. This is simply how a receiver works. It receives the station it is tuned to. If the dial is parked at not enough, then not enough is what comes through. In every form, in every area, with a consistency so total that a person might spend an entire lifetime concluding that the universe is simply arranged against them. The universe is not arranged against them. The universe is arranged as a mirror, and the mirror is showing them exactly, perfectly, faithfully, their frequency. Here is where the teaching becomes precise in a way that changes everything. The thing you want and the version of you who has it are not two separate things to be collected one after the other. They are the same signal, the same broadcast, one station, one transmission, carrying both simultaneously. Neville was pointing at this when he said, "The outer world is the shadow of the inner man." He did not say the outer world eventually catches up to the inner man. He said it is the shadow, inseparable, simultaneous, moving when the man moves. When you are on the frequency of having the thing, both arrive together, the thing and the state of having it. They are not two events. They are one signal received. This is why people who have built wealth rarely describe the moment when the money arrived and then they felt wealthy. They describe, when they are honest, a prior interior shift, a settling into some new resting note, a quiet assumption of a different state of being. And then the money moved toward them as though magnetized, as though it had been waiting for that exact position on the dial. Because it had been. The wealth was broadcasting. The health was broadcasting. The love was broadcasting. The freedom was broadcasting. All of it, all the time, passing through the room where the wanting person sat, unreceived, not because it was withheld, but because the dial was pointed elsewhere. Understanding this strips away, permanently, the impulse to want more when what you want does not arrive. Wanting more is not an act performed on the frequency of the thing. It is an act performed on the frequency of its absence. The correction is never to intensify the wanting. The correction is always to turn the dial. So how does one actually do it? This is where Neville was most insistent. The teaching must be practical, or it is merely philosophy. A truth that cannot be lived is not yet a truth. It is an idea. The dial is turned through a single interior act, one movement. The same movement repeated until it becomes the resting note of your consciousness, until it becomes the default, until you no longer have to reach for the new frequency because you are already living there. The act is this. You assume the inner state of the version of you for whom the thing is already normal. Not the version hoping for it, not the version working toward it, not the version asking whether it is permitted, whether they deserve it, whether the evidence will eventually confirm it. The version for whom the thing has arrived, not dramatically, not recently, but simply, this is how life is. The version for whom the thing is wallpaper, unremarkable, expected the way a comfortable chair is expected in a comfortable room. You step into that version's inner posture, the way they hold themselves when no one is watching, the way they look at the world, the quiet, settled, almost boring of coarseness of someone for whom what you currently call your dream is simply Tuesday. That is the new dial position. And here is the beautiful, almost embarrassing simplicity of it. You can step into that position right now. In this breath, in this moment, not after years of practice, not after you feel worthy, not after the circumstances change. The state is not the outcome of receiving the thing. The state is the frequency on which the thing broadcasts. You occupy the state first. The thing arrives as a consequence, the natural mechanical consequence of a receiver finally tuned to its signal. Let me give you an image for this too. You are at a friend's house, and through a closed door you can hear music, muffled, faint, the bass frequencies reaching you, but the melody obscured. You want to hear the song clearly. What do? You do not press your ear harder against the door. You do not will the music to be louder. You do not deserve the music more completely by concentrating. You simply walk into the room, and the moment you step through the door, the music is all around you, full, present, clear. Not because you imported it, not because you earned it, because you placed yourself where it was already playing. The room is the state. Walking through the door is the act of assumption. You do not drag the music into your life. You become the person who is already standing in the room where it plays. And the moment you are genuinely standing there, not performing, not wishing, not hoping, the music is all you hear. I want to tell you something that Neville's students often found more clarifying than any technique he ever gave them. Because without this, you will encounter a moment, and it will come, when you feel certain the teaching has failed you. When you have turned the dial, genuinely turned it, and the old conditions continue to arrive. Understand what is happening in that moment. When you change a radio's dial, there is, even in the cleanest, sharpest receiver, a brief moment of overlap. The old station has not fully faded. The new one has not fully locked. Both bleed through simultaneously, creating noise, confusion. For a moment, you cannot be sure which signal is which. In your life, this overlap is longer than a moment. It is longer because life has more inertia than a radio dial, because the conditions you have been broadcasting for years are not constructions that vanish at a thought. They are ships already at sea. They were dispatched from the old frequency before you changed it, and they are still crossing the water toward you. They will arrive even after you have turned the dial. You will see them arrive, you will receive them, and they will whisper, "Nothing has changed." You were foolish to believe it had. Do not believe that whisper. Those arriving conditions are not proof that the new frequency is failing. They are proof that the old frequency was real. Real enough to have dispatched ships that are still in transit. They are echoes, late arrivals, signals sent before the correction, finally making landfall. They have no new source. You are not broadcasting them any longer. They cannot be replenished because you are no longer on their station. Let them arrive. Receive them without retuning. And understand that the reason you can afford to let them arrive calmly is not resignation. It is certainty. The certainty of a man who changed his radio dial and simply waits for the old static to fade, knowing with full mechanical confidence that the new station has already locked in. He does not grab the dial and turn it back, because the old sounds reach him briefly through the transition. He waits. He holds steady. He remains in the room where the new music plays, because he knows what you must now know. Once the old echoes finish arriving, what remains is only what you are currently broadcasting. And what you are currently broadcasting from the new dial position is the frequency of the thing you want. Let me make this entirely concrete. Several times a day, not as a heavy spiritual obligation, but as a small, natural, almost effortless interior check, you pause and ask, "Where is my dial?" Not philosophically, literally. What is the resting note of my inner state right now? If I am honest, is this the state of the person who has what I want, or the state of the person who is still hoping for it? If you find the dial has drifted, and it will drift because the old frequency has long grooves in the consciousness, you turn it, quietly, without drama, without self-punishment. The way a navigator corrects a course heading, not in crisis, not with recrimination, simply with the practical understanding that the heading had drifted and now it is being corrected. You step inwardly into the room where the music plays. You assume the posture of the version of you who lives there, not as performance, not as pretending, but as a genuine interior settling into a state that is, Neville insisted, more real than the external condition you are trying to change. Because the state is the cause, the condition is the effect, and cause is always more real than effect. 30 seconds, a single breath, as many times a day as you can remember to do it. Each return is a vote. Each vote trains the dial toward the new position. After enough votes, the new position becomes the default, and the broadcast you receive begins, quietly and then unmistakably, to change. Everything you want is on the same frequency as you, or it is not. The thing is not in the future. It is not across a distance you have to earn the right to cross. It is broadcasting, right now, in the room you are sitting in, on a frequency that is available to you this very breath. You are the radio. Your inner state is the dial. The dial can be turned in any moment. Not by wanting harder, not by working longer, not by accumulating more technique or more worthiness, but by the single, quiet, interior act of stepping into the state of the version of you for whom the thing is already so. That state is the room. The music is already playing in it. You do not have to drag the music into your life. You only have to walk through the door. And the door is here, now, in the next breath, waiting not for your worthiness, or your readiness, or your perfect alignment of circumstances, but only for the one thing it has always been waiting for, your decision to step through. So turn the dial. Walk into the room. The music has been playing the whole time.